Hey guys, and welcome to Quality Shot. As you can probably tell, we're going to go over the India versus England third ODI review. I've just literally watched the game, live streamed it with my followers and subscribers, and yeah, India just edging a thriller of a match. To be fair, nice to see a fantastically competitive match to end this series and the tour. They've been pretty far and few in between, but this was one for sure. Came down to the wire. India winning by 7 runs in the end, and England unfortunately just couldn't get over the line, especially with Sam Curran, who performed really well. But before we go into that, please do remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help. And if you're new, even more so. And if you're old, even more so, to be fair, as well. And of course, share the videos and leave some comments as well. Let me know what you thought of the series as a whole, the ODI series. And even if you want to comment on the whole white ball series, the ODI and T20s, or even just the tour as a whole, and talk about test series as well. I should be having a special guest, fingers crossed, to do the whole tour review. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, let's go straight into this review. So England won the toss and again elected to field, which is what they've done throughout the whole ODI series. It was poised at 1 apiece, and India just came out with Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan. And this time, in the past, for anyone that doesn't know, the last two ODIs, India have batted first and they've gone at around 4 and over. So the first one, they scored 39 off the first 10. Second ODI, 40. This time they didn't. They went at 60. They scored 65 even of the first 10. So went from 4 and over to 6.5 and over. Very impressive, good little tweak, and I think it's because England chased that I think it was 330 odd in that second ODI, and I think it just made India think, hold on, we need to go slightly quicker. We've got the gears to do it. We've got the ability and the players. I mean, Rohit Sharma, one of the best white ball players ever, probably. Shikhar Dhawan is up there as well. So yeah, they performed really well. Rohit Sharma, 37 off 37 for him, but he got out to an absolute beauty from Adil Rashid. A googly through the gate, just unbelievably fantastic bowling from Adil Rashid. Sorry, that was a bit extra, but I thought I'd do it. But yeah, before that, they'd put on a 100 partnership, Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan, 103 for no wicket. And it was midway through that 14th over, Adil Rashid struck. And soon after, Shikhar Dhawan went as well. He'd actually taken the bulk of a strike. So he ended up going caught on bowled again to Adil Rashid. So he broke that partnership and then also took out the other opener in Shikhar Dhawan. 67 off 56 balls for him. Strike rate of 119. Both openers going at 100 strike rate or more. Really impressive stuff from both of them. I have to say, set a very good platform for India. And Adil Rashid getting him caught to bowl, just deceiving him with the flight of the delivery, and it was a leading edge from Shikhar Dhawan, good caught and bowled from Rashid. And actually, it was a case after that they lost ended up losing 3 wickets for the space of 18 runs. I think that really, I think, affected India. The start was fantastic, that 100 partnership, in pretty little to no time. They just need to keep on going at that same rate, really. At that sixes, kind of 6.5s, which would have been perfect. But obviously, they lost Rohit and then Dhawan, and then soon after, they lost Kohli, who obviously has been very good in this series. Hasn't scored that 100, as I know everyone's talking about, since the start of 2019. Which, okay, yes, I think we can talk about that, and I'm sure people will talk about it in their reviews, and also when they look at the tour as a whole. But what I would say is that he still scored runs, and he's still scoring 60s, 70s, etc. So, look, he's not in terrible form, is he? But this time, he got out to a very good delivery from Moeen Ali, kind of back of a length almost from the off spinner, and it just gripped and turned a lot more than he was expecting. He went off the back foot trying to punch it into the offside, but really probably should have been going kind of offside with the ball, kind of going into the line of the delivery and then flicking into leg side, which I think it kind of shows that the ball turned more than expected. Clipped the top of leg stump. Very, very good delivery from Moeen Ali. Very big wicket. And him and Rashid in those kind of, I guess, the 10 to 20 overs, they bowled really well for the most part. And that definitely slowed them down slightly. But then in came Rishabh Pant at 4. And he really, with KL Rahul, they started to try to rebuild. KL Rahul did fall to what can only be described as a very lucky wicket. Liam Livingstone's first England wicket, not really seen as, he's a part-time bowler really, bowling a little bit of leg spin, a little bit of off spin, and he bowled a leg stump full toss to KL Rahul, which really should have just been put away, into the stands. Instead, it went straight to 45 to Moeen Ali. Well, I say straight to, it wasn't. It was a fantastic diving catch from Moeen Ali. And Liam Livingstone was really happy. Moeen Ali elated. He had to go for 7 off 18. But Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya straight after that put on a magnificent partnership of a 99 off 11 overs. So really, really destructive partnership in that kind of between those those two even. And it was between the 24th and 35th over. So they accelerated quite a bit in a period where you'd normally expect them to do it later on. But what had happened, and because the wickets had fallen earlier, and these two obviously just that's the way they bat, they managed to propel India to a very, very good total at that point in time. But unfortunately, those two fell again. There was another cluster of wickets. Hardik Pandya and Rishabh Pant batted, as I said, phenomenally well. Partnership was incredible. 78 off 62 for Rishabh Pant, but then he had to fall to Sam Curran. A little bit disappointing, I think, from Rishabh Pant. He was disappointed in himself. He would have been looking to go on to get 100, and I think he would have been disappointed more so with the fact that he had a lot of overs still to bat. I mean, he got out on the 35th over. There's 15 overs still to go at that point. So that's really when he has more license to accelerate as well. So I think for him, he's thinking I could have gone really big here. And then Hardik Pandya kind of followed suit only 3 overs later, falling to Ben Stokes. And he just tried to shimmy across the stumps and just flick it into leg side and actually clipped the top of leg stump, similar to that Kohli delivery, except Kohli went very leg side of the ball. Hardik Pandya went very offside of the ball. So 2 different dismissals of both clipping the top of leg stump. But he was really good, and he kind of, I guess, found a liking to Moeen Ali, who bowled really well early doors, got hit a little bit, him and Rashid later on. But he was very good, Moeen Ali, kind of overall, 7 overs for 39 runs, only and 1 wicket, even, which is that big wicket of Virat Kohli, economy of 5.57 as well. But he was good. But Hardik Pandya, very good, 64 off 44, 5 fours, and 4 sixes, and a strike rate of 145. So really impressive stuff from Hardik Pandya once again, and showing his worth, especially in those middle to late overs. Unfortunately, again, just couldn't go longer, and he looked really disappointed the way he got out as well. Just quite a soft way to get out. Krunal Pandya came in and put on 25 or 34, just not really looking himself. Just was struggling a little bit. Strike rate of 73 for him. But it was actually Shardul Thakur who was the one that actually carried that role more. 30 or 21 for him. 1, 4, 3 sixes. Haven't seen so much of him batting on white ball. So obviously showed a little bit of talent there for sure in that tail, which is what they needed, because after that, Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Krishna, and Natarajan, they weren't really going to give you much, and they didn't. So really, you could say they stuttered after that Hardik Pandya wicket. Takor obviously helped them definitely. It definitely helped them. But because Krunal Pandya was struggling with the timing, they definitely just got into a little bit of a sticky wicket, really. And they went from 276 for 6 off the 38th over and crumbled to all out 10 overs later, and they'd only accumulated 50 more runs. So I think that is a very telling stat. But the last 10 overs they batted, they only picked up 53 more runs right from it, which is funny because you normally associate India with batting very quickly, right, in the last 10 overs, and then a bit more slowly in the first 10. They did really well in the first 10. Middle overs, they did quite well for the first phase, and then the second phase not as much, but the last 10 let them down. And that's because, that's because they lost a lot of wickets as well in that period. So, look, 53 runs in that last 10, in addition to losing 5 wickets. That was a difference today for India in their batting lineup, or the batting performance even. 329 all out for them. But you know what? In the whole scheme of things, it didn't really matter, did it? Because they went on to win. But if I want to be hypercritical, it was just that last phase. But it's funny because, they were talking about it on Sky, and obviously they tweaked their way of batting, and that's the way they should bat in the first 10. The last 10, they've been very good, just not in this one. I think it was more a case of the England bowlers bowled quite well in that middle phase, especially Rashid and Moeen. That's always going to happen. They'll be look. The fact that they got 329, right, just shows that they probably didn't bat as well as they expected and didn't quite go to plan. But they still got 329. So if it goes slightly better than it did today, and even is a bit closer to their expectations, they're going to be getting 350 plus very regularly, and they've got that talent throughout the whole batting lineup down until 7. So they've got to be utilising it. Anyways, 3-2-9 all out for them. England came up to bat. Roy and Bairstow, you're thinking, as an England fan, probably, look, these guys, they can do it. We just need a fast start, need these two to come out, build a really good partnership, and that's it. Get us on our way. Unfortunately, it just wasn't to be. Yeah, it just wasn't to be. And actually, sorry, before I go into that, Rashid, very, very vital. He did go for 8.1 and over in his 10, but the 2 wickets he picked up, really vital. Mark Wood was really good. 7 overs, 34 runs, 3 wickets, economy of only 4.86 as well. He was super good. He really was. Topley impressed slightly as well. Sam Curran got a bit of tap. Livingston was okay. And Moyne, I think him and Wood were really the pick of the bowlers. Stokes went for 6.43 and picked up that wicket of Hardik Pandya. So kind of shared around a decent bowling performance. Anyway, so back to Roy and Bairstow. They came out to bat. Bhuvneshwar Kumar, obviously just the regular and the spearhead of that Indian attack, and has been very good in the white ball series, in the ODI and T20 formats. I think I've just been super impressed by him. I knew he'd do well in the ODIs. Didn't think he'd do that well in the T20s as he did. But prove me wrong. And historically, looking at his stats, it just shows that he's very miserly and he is very dangerous. And England have definitely shown him respect, I think, and the type of respect they should be showing him. However, Jason Roy didn't get the memo. And to be fair to him, he was right to do so. The first ball from Bhuvneshwar Kumar, a beautiful cover drive from Jason Roy. And you know what? It's almost like him trying to overhit the ball and not trust his timing had completely gone. It's almost like he'd said to himself, you know what? I'm going to do what I know best. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm a good enough player. And he hit that for 4, a flick for 4, a punch down the ground for 4, and he looked so good. He looked in the best form that I've seen him, but this series and the T20 series. I'm not joking, and he's not performed badly. But as I said, there's some technical deficiencies and a tendency to overhit and lose his shape. Didn't do so at all. Looked really good. So 14 off the over so far. Last ball of the over, Bhuvneshwar Kumar bowls him a peach. Pitches just outside off stump, then nips in off the seam, clips the top of off stump, and Jason Roy is just like, what? And he's lost his shape completely. And Bhuvneshwar Kumar just flick of the wrist, beautiful delivery. It really was. He's really good to watch, to be fair, Bhuvneshwar Kumar. He really is. He's definitely my favourite bowler out of all the Indians to watch. And got him with a peach. And Jason Roy just walked off saying, you know what, fair enough. Very good delivery. Unfortunately, because Roy looked good, but it just wasn't to be today. And then Bairstow, unfortunately, went pretty soon after in a second over, actually. The last ball of the over, he went, again, Bhuvneshwar Kumar getting him LBW, and he shifted across his stance, probably shouldn't have. He went for 1 or 4. So the 2 openers gone cheaply. England in a pickle, 28 for 2 off 2.6 overs. Then we saw a little bit of a rebuild between Stokes and Milan, which was nice to see. 40 runs off the next 8, which was good. Solid batting from Stokes and Milan. Stokes looked pretty good whilst I was in 35 from 39. And he just gets out to the most in the most ridiculous way. It's a full toss from Natarajan, and he hits it straight to Shikhar Dhawan at deep mid wicket. And it's just like, what? It's a wayside full toss, and it should go in the stands. Stokes is like, is that a no ball? And they check it back, and it's not. He has to walk off for 35. Really disappointing way to get out. Milan, though, stays in. And with Butler, again, they start to rebuild slightly. Again, a smallish partnership of 27 from the next 4 or 5 overs. Milan looks good. Butler looks okay. 15 off 18 for him, but he has a deficiency, and it comes out again. Well, he's had a deficiency this tour anyway, and that is the LBW, with the ball just coming in slightly with the arm, that natural variation. It's not even really moving off the seam. I think if it was, he'd have even more problems, but this is just Charlotte Darker's had his number in this series, and again he got trapped LBW, falling over his front pad and just losing. He's just off balance. He's off balance basically. and he's too offside of the ball, and he's not in line, and again got trapped, and again it's hitting leg stump, has to walk, LBW 15 off 18. Milan, though, looked really good, 50 off 50 for him, and who says he can't bat in ODIs? It's only his third ODI. I think he got 25 in his first, and not out in the second, and here he's got 50, and 50 off 50, he'll be really disappointed though, because like Stokes, it was a pretty soft dismissal. It was a shorter ball from Decor, pulls it away straight to square leg, I think, in Rohit Sharma, or mid wicket, I think it was actually. And it's straight to him, and he's timed it like so well, but straight to the man. And he's just thinking, I need to go over or along the floor, and he walks off in dismay almost. That was disappointing to see. But before he went, actually, Liam Livingstone, who looked good for 36 or 31, but he got out in the even softer way than Ben Stokes. It's a low full toss from Takor, and he hits it straight back to him, just feebly straight to him. And I'm like, what is going on? And that happened. Stokes' one happened, the full toss, and then another full toss dismissal, really soft, and then the Milan one. And I'm like, oh no, this is not going to be England's day. They're going to struggle here. Yeah, I mean, it was just Milan and Livingston did very well. They put on 60 off. It ended up being 8 overs, which was really good partnership between the two. Livingston looked good whilst he was in, and he looks like he's a decent player. He just needs to go on, and he'll be disappointed because he was looking very good, going at a strike rate of 116, and again, just just too soft. I'm sure we'll see him again for England because I think he looked promising for me, and he'll get some chances, I'm sure, in the next year or so again. And let's hope that he can come good because he looks a pretty good bat. I think he normally bats at 3, so batting at 6, I'm not sure, but he kind of just welcomed the role and played a bit more aggressively, as I guess you'd maybe see him, and he played well for sure. So anyway, England went from 95 to 4 to 168 for 6. So that was the issue. And after losing Livingston, they lost Milan 2 overs later. And that kind of regular wickets falling for England definitely did not help them. And yeah, I mean, they had Moynin with Sam Curran. And that really was a partnership that they had to make work. So we're talking about 168 for 6 at this point, which is not great at all. And we're at the halfway stage. So England are going at the rate, if not in front of it, actually at this point. But they've only got 4 wickets in hand, and that's the problem. 4 wickets in hand, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sorry, they've got 5 wickets in hand even, and it was just disappointing. I think from. Sorry, no, I was right. Sorry, 4 wickets in hand. It's just disappointing, I think, from an England point of view because they're always kind of at the rate, but they just couldn't get past it in the sense that they couldn't get past the fact of, we can't lose early wickets here. And some of the dismissals were so soft, but I think that will be in the back of their mind. But anyways, back to it. Moyne and Sam Curran put on a pretty decent partnership again of 32 this time off only 5 overs, which is pretty good again. Moyne, like Livingston, looked good whilst he was in, 29 off 25. 2 4s, 2 6s, and this is a really soft dismissal again. I mean, there's no need for it from Moyne, and I really do love him, but this was so frustrating as someone who's a fan of his, and he looked frustrated with himself, and rightly so. Bhuvnesh Kumar was coming in, and Moyne Ali just thinks he's hitting for 4 by the way off the first ball, so it's a good 4, flicked around the corner, very good shot, couple of good 6s as well from Moyne, 2 6s, 2 4s. This time it's a bit fuller. It's probably too full to drive on the up, or to drive over the top even, sorry. But he goes for it, and he doesn't get all of it, and it kind of just loops, and Hardik Pandya manages to run forward and catch. It's a very good catch. I'm just thinking, why didn't you just punch that on the floor? And I think he's thinking to himself, why have I done that as well? A bit of a brain fade, disappointing because he looked good whilst he was in. He needs to convert those 20s and 30s into 50-plus scores, Moyne. He's well capable of doing it. He really is. And Sam Curran, who's been really disappointing for me throughout this whole tour, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I said I think he's been one of the most disappointing players, especially in the White Ball series. He came good, though. He really did come good in this match. And it might be a coming of age or a maturing, kind of a coming of maturity for him. This lot could definitely help him. I think he averaged like 7 before this. He's only played 8 or so ODIs, but still, he looked very, very good. And obviously, when Moyne went, it was 200 for 7 of 30 overs. But he put on a fantastic partnership with Adil Rashid, steadying the ship 57 from 9 overs. Rashid kind of aptly aiding Sam Curran, 19 or 22 for him. He looked good whilst he was in as well. Definitely held the fort. And Mark Wood again. So Sam Curran also put on a good partnership with Mark Wood, which was a partnership of 60 of 10 overs. So again, a very good partnership. Batting well with the tail, Sam Curran. Well, for the most part anyway. Mark Wood was 14 of 21. So good little knock from him. Now, Sam Curran, I need to talk about this last phase of the game. At one point, right, it looked like the game was going away from them. And Sam Curran was not rotating the strike. He said, when I'm batting with Mark Wood, he said, I'm going to take the strike because I'm going to trust myself to hit boundaries. Fine. The issue is in a couple of overs, he did this for 3 or 4 balls, which I had an issue with because I just thought you could have run a single, and Mark Wood was able to take singles quite regularly as well when he was on a strike. So he didn't do that, which is fine. But then, you know, he was doing that, and he also thought to himself, well, you know what, I will do that. But then they got stuck, basically, and they got stuck. And eventually, the run rate went up to above 10 and over. But they brought it back down. Sam Curran had a big over. I think it was 18 off the over. And just destroying a Shardul Thakur, I think it was, actually. And it was a very, very good over. And also, that we have to caveat this with the fact that Sam Curran was dropped on 22. An absolute dolly, by the way. Hardik Pandya dropped him as an absolute dolly. Absolute dolly on 20. He's batting. And whilst Mark Wood's in, actually, Mark Wood hits one straight down Shardul Thakur's throat. He goes like this, goes straight through him. It's an absolute dolly again, by the way. And I'm just thinking to myself, what's going on? This is in the penultimate over. Then eventually they need, I think at one point they needed 27 or 20, then 21 off 19. Bhuvneshwar Kumar bowls really well. I think it's Bhuvneshwar Kumar. And it was disappointing from England and Sam Curran because in that over they need to get more. They didn't, and they didn't run singles. So what happened is they faltered to 19 needed off the last 2, and that then made it hard for them again after being 27 off 20 needed. Sam Curran, start of the last over, they only get 4 off that over off Hardik Pandya. I think it's 5 off that over, so they need 14 of the last over. So again, made it hard for themselves. Again, he's not running singles. He's saying I'm just going to hit boundaries or 2s. Fine, but then that's what I mean. If you do that, you have to then hit boundaries, right? Unfortunately, he just didn't do it. And in that last over, he hits one into the leg side and realizes I've got to run this. I've probably been sitting at the crease too long. Goes to run 2, realizes I think actually he was going to run 2, but luckily he slips because if he'd run 2, he would have been out. He slips. Mark Wood is running back for 2, doesn't make it, and gets run out. But they still get a single, so fine. So the equation is still 13, I think it was, needed off the last 5, right? Okay, doable still. Topley comes in, does his job. First ball, hits it straight into the offside, a single. So 12 needed off the last 4, right? Sam Curran goes dot ball. Now this is my issue. He goes dot ball, and I'm just like, what is going on? And one of them, which was it's a third ball that over, he hits it into the leg side and he actually splits the fielders. They could have run 2 there. That was more a 2 than the Mark Wood run out. And if he'd run 2 there, it would have been 10 needed of the last 2. And what makes it even more frustrating is the fact that they need 12 of the last 2 then, right, after that. And he hits a 4 and they need 8 off the last 1, but it could have been 6 needed off the last 1. It could have been doable, but it wasn't. And then he hits it just straight down the ground for a single for the last ball, and they lose by 7 runs. Now, this is what I mean. It will be a learning experience. And to be fair to Sam Curran, I mean, 95-83 is a fantastic innings. It really is. 116 strike rate, and I have to say, hands up, amazing innings. Prove me wrong in the sense that he performed well in this match. I still don't think he'll get into the starting 11. I think Chris Woakes would come in instead still. But it shows, I think, a level of maturity and skill that he's definitely going to still be in and around that. And I think rightly so after that knock. Got to reward him. But for me, it was definitely a lack of cricket IQ, and he will develop it still. But for me, I think needed to run some of the singles, and that 2 was there. but he was scared because there was only 1 wicket remaining. But that was a 2 if he'd run it hard, and a pretty comfortable one, I think, at that probably. Anyways, very, very hotly, I guess, hotly competitive and yeah, hotly participated match. Very, very close encounter. India winning by 7 runs. England will be disappointed because they ended up getting so close, but just couldn't get it over the line. Fantastic knock from Sam Curran, though. I have to say, really, really good knock. And look, I mean, he'll be happy just to kind of get some runs on the board. He won't be happy with the fact that they lost, but I think when he looks back on this in a week or two, he'll feel happy about that for sure. And he picked up a wicket and got 95 not out, and actually got man of the match. So, and that's rightly so. I think he nearly took the game. It would have been a match-winning knock, and he needed it by himself almost towards the end there. So, well played to him, and also well played to Bhuvneshwar Kumar. 10 overs for 42, 3 wickets, economy of 4.2. Charles Darker again picked up 4 wickets. Seems just have this knack of picking up wickets in the middle overs. He only went for 6.7. Krunal Pandya was he only bowled 4 today. Hardik Pandya, this was a big, big, big thing for India. They didn't bowl him in the last 2 ODIs. They bowled him in this one as a 6th bowler, or well, he ended up being a 5th. But you know, what I mean is that he was a 6th option today, and he only went for 5s, and that makes a huge difference. If you pick up a wicket, doesn't matter. But also, actually, sorry, another caveat: he dropped Sam Curran again, Hardik Pandya, and this time it's a bit harder. But again, he gets 2 hands, so it should have caught it, and he tips it, and it rolls away for 4, and he's so frustrated. And he's a lucky boy, Hardik Pandya. That's what I'm going to say. Because if Sam Curran goes on to win that match, he's dropped him twice, and there would be egg on his face. And I tell you, and I'm just saying, and I'm assuming this would be the case. He probably would have got slated by some of the media, and probably not rightly so, because people drop catches. It happens. But really good knock though from him anyway. And also him bowling made a huge difference because it just gave them a different variation. He bowls cutters, etc. And they didn't just need to rely on 5 bowlers to bowl 10. Krishna was quite expensive, 8.86. So Hardik Pandya made up the overs, and Krunal Pandya, they didn't want him to bowl loads. Again, he made up the overs. He bowled 9. Makes a huge amount of difference. So good shout by India, and they needed it, and I think it proved to a massive difference in winning this game. And those 7 runs, tell you what, would have happened. I reckon they would have won it if Hardik Pandya hadn't bowled. So good decision from India in the end. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. As I said, I will be doing a full tour review with a special guest, and I'll probably maybe have a couple of other people on as well, just to discuss it even generally, because I think it was a very extensive tour, some interesting points. Not as exciting as I probably hoped for, but still very good in terms of the skill level on show and the ability of obviously both teams and players, because they are the 2 best white ball sides on paper anyway in the world. India take the ODI series 2-1, and they take the whole tour, winning the Test series, T20 and ODI series. So it's clean sweep for them. Very well played. Commiserations to England fans and England, and I'm sure they'll come back strong. But yeah, thank you very much, guys. Please do remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you very